Number 1.
Natasha Atchley was just a week away from leaving her teenage years and entering her 20s. And she lived life as if every day would be her last. She loved life and she lived life hard, Natasha's lifelong friend, Keisha Myers, told us. She once told me that she felt like she would die young. Sadly, she was right. Natasha was only 19 years old when she was brutally murdered in the early morning hours of May 3, 1992. Her remains were found later that same day in the trunk of her burned-out Camaro hatchback on a dirt road in a rural area of Shepherd, Texas. A former cheerleader, Natasha was pretty and popular, and always attracted attention. She was wild and fun. A free spirit, Keisha said. There was just something about Natasha, you either loved her or you hated her. Keisha told us she had grown up with Natasha in Livingston, Texas. They were inseparable. But during their senior year of high school, Natasha was sent to live with her grandparents in Odessa, Texas. She graduated from Odessa Permian High School, got an apartment with roommates in College Station, and began taking classes at Blinn College. When Keisha found out she was pregnant, she said Natasha was overjoyed. She correctly predicted it would be a boy, and told Keisha she would help her when the baby came. If you wanted to have fun, she was your girl, Keisha said. But she was more than that. She was just very much a loyal friend. 2 weeks before her murder, Natasha called Keisha's house to tell her she would be coming back to Livingston to visit and go to some birthday parties. I didn't get to speak to her. She spoke to my grandma and said she wanted to make sure I'd be here when she came to visit, Keisha said. She said she had something important to tell me. But I never found out what that was. Keisha never saw or spoke to her friend again. On the evening of Saturday, May 2, 1992, Natasha was last seen at a friend's party in Shepherd. She never came home. Around 10 a.m., the next day, a man and his grandson returned from a fishing trip and came across a smoldering hatchback car on a dirt road in rural San Jacinto County, about a mile from the party. Natasha's remains, which had been burned down to bones, were inside the trunk of the hatchback. Retired San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Tom Branch, who worked on the case for about 12 years, told us, investigators believe Natasha was killed at or near the site of the party sometime during the night or in the early morning hours, then driven about a mile away to the dirt road, where the car was set on fire. Lab reports indicated that the accelerant used to light the car on fire was identified as drip gas, Branch said. He told us he believes the killer may have used oil and gas wells, which are common in the area, to finish the job. Drip gas is something you can get out of the oil well, if you know what you're doing, Branch said. But not everyone does. I think it narrows down suspects somewhat. Branch told us the scene was a gruesome one. Her whole body fit in a shoebox, Branch said. Natasha's family had reported her missing early that morning when she didn't arrive at her mother's house as expected. Natasha's brother, Chad Woodard, was only 12 years old when his sister was murdered. Once you've seen your sister's burned remains, it's something that just stays with you forever, Chad told us. At the time he lived with his mother and younger brother in Livingston. He remembers Natasha as being active and lively, always around friends, and cheerleading or playing piano. Living life full speed ahead is, I think, the only way she knew how to live, Chad said. And her death just devastated our family. Chad told us his mother fought to find out what happened to Natasha for years. But she lost her battle in 2002 when she died of cancer. I think losing Natasha literally killed our mother, Chad said. It was her dying wish to find out what happened and to find out who did this to Natasha. Initially, investigators believed they would solve the case pretty quickly. 2 people were arrested for aggravated assault after a witness claimed that he saw them beating up Natasha, according to Branch. But the case fell apart when the witness recanted his story. It's just been a really complicated case from the beginning, Branch said. And unfortunately, we missed something along the way. Branch told us that the number of people at the party, which he described as a party involving alcohol and an array of drugs, made it difficult to investigate. Investigators served search warrants at houses and conducted searches of vehicles all over the surrounding areas. They questioned potential witnesses from the party. But no one was talking. I'm 100% sure that we spoke to the person responsible for her death during the course of our investigation, Branch told us. But unless that person, or a witness comes forward, we might never know the truth. Endless theories about what exactly happened to Natasha that night are still being offered 28 years later. Dr. Alan Ashworth, a former resident of Natasha's hometown of Livingston, Texas, has dedicated many years to sifting through the theories hoping to uncover the truth, and has written 3 books about the case. I believe we can solve this case, Ashworth told us. I believe we have. But now, it's up to the authorities. I can solve the case, but I can't make the arrests. The case is now in the hands of the Texas Ranger Unsolved Crimes Investigation Team. We reached out for comment, but has not heard back. Retired Sheriff's Deputy Tom Branch told us he stays in touch with the investigators on the team and said they are continuing to work the case. He said they believe the case is solvable and urges anyone with information to reach out to the Texas Rangers team or Crime Stoppers. Keisha Myers told us she would just like answers about what happened to her wild and spunky friend. I've come to the conclusion that it may not happen in my lifetime, Keisha said. It was her mother's dying wish to know. But that never happened. Keisha was with Natasha's mother when she died from cancer. She treated me like her daughter, and my boys like her grandchildren, Keisha said. Keisha's boys, including the one she was pregnant with when Natasha died, are grown now. He reminds me of her, though, Keisha said. All the good parts of her. Her intelligence, her sense of adventure, her self-determination, it's like he was a gift from her. A cash reward of $15,000 from family and friends, along with $3,000 from Crime Stoppers, is being offered for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of Natasha's killers. If you have information about Natasha's case, call the Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-252-TIPS, 8477.
Number 2.
Stamford, Texas, is a small community just 40 miles north of Abilene. It is the epitome of small-town America, mom and pop shops, a town square, friendly people. In the 80s, the population was close to 4,000. Stamford was considered a safe community to live and raise a family. Not the type of place you would expect to find evil lurking in its bushes. On September 2nd, 7-year-old Cortney Clayton asked her father Stan if she could walk down to the store, not even a block away, to get a soda, something she had done many times before. Stan knew the owners, so he was fine this. She left around sunset, and Stan watched her walk across the street and toward the store. We know from the store manager that Cortney walked into the store and attempted to purchase a soda. When paying, she realized she was a few cents short, and the man behind her in line offered to cover the difference. However, the manager waved it off, as she knew Cortney, and watched her walk out the door. Now, when Cortney would head down to the store, Stan would always ask her older brother Ryan to go a few minutes later and walk her back home. But, when Ryan left to go pick her up that night, Cortney was not waiting for him outside the store. He searched all around the inside and outside of the shop but failed to find her anywhere. She was gone. All he did find was the can of soda Cortney purchased, resting on the bumper of the manager's truck. As this was such a small town with little crime, the police were inexperienced in a case like this. An immediate search was conducted though, lasting through the night, only to find no trace of the girl anywhere. The theory began to arise that she was abducted right there in the parking lot minutes, possibly seconds, before Ryan arrived to walk her home. 5 days later, a Jones County sheriff identified a witness challenging the notion that the store manager was the last person to see Cortney. This witness saw Cortney standing by the manager's truck in the parking lot, but she wasn't alone. The witness stated that there was a vehicle parked next to the truck, with a man sitting in the driver's seat, and that there was another man in the parking lot, leaning against the exterior of the store. It's important to note that a portion of the witness's statement was retrieved under hypnosis, so take this account with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, police managed to create a composite sketch of one of the men the witness described. Despite its circulation around town, and in the local papers, nothing arose from this lead. The case went cold for the next 6 months, only to be resurrected by the worst possible discovery. On Easter Sunday in 1989, Cortney's skull was found by hunters outside another town a little over 50 southeast of Stamford. Texas Rangers recovered more of her skeleton over the area of grassland, spanning 200 yards. The clothes that she was wearing the day she went missing were also found nearby. Upon examination, her death was ruled a violent homicide, with the exact manner of death undetermined due to the level of decomposition. Further evidence was reported to be found in the area, but details were kept under wraps by police, likely to serve as intel that only someone involved with the crime would know, abating false confessions. To this day, we still are unaware of what else was found at the scene. Throughout the following years, numerous child abductions occurred in neighboring towns, yet none were able to be positively linked to Cortney Clayton case. One of the things that baffles me about this case is the negligible amount of evidence. Besides her body and her clothing, there really isn't any physical evidence to give us and investigators insight into what happened to her. More baffling than the lack of evidence is the fact that there has never been a viable suspect in her abduction and killing. It's common knowledge that most murders are committed by the ones closest to you, and once Jones County detectives realized that that wasn't the case here, the trail to her killer seemed to abruptly halt. In 2007, Cortney's mother Candy discussed the toll involved with living in the small town where her daughter was murdered, always wondering if her questions could be answered by the person that she just saw at the grocery store or the gas station. I have always felt that somebody here in town knows something, even if they don't know they know it. Candy Clayton said. In 2012, her father Stan expressed the anguish their family still feels now, even decades after the crime. We still hurt, we're still mad. Sometimes we're angry, because someone robbed us, out of that pleasure of having her, all that time. They cheated us out of her graduation, marriage and possibly grandchildren from her, Stan Clayton said. 32 years later, Cortney's killers continue to be unknown, and her case remains unsolved. Any information regarding the case can be reported by calling the Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-252, TIPS, 8477. All calls are anonymous.
Number 3.
The Texas Department of Public Safety hopes increased reward money will help solve the 1997 disappearance of an Angelina County man. The department announced Thursday it will dole out up to $6,000 for information leading to the arrest of anyone involved in the disappearance of Harold William, Bill, Roland if the information is received before next month's featured Texas Rangers cold case is announced. Harold William, Bill, Roland, was last seen during a fishing trip to Powell Park on Lake Sam Rayburn, Texas on July 21, 1997. He was driving his gray 1996 Chevrolet 271 extended cab pickup truck, with the Texas license plates number RE6006 at the time. The vehicle had a large orange ladder marked JOC for J.O. Cheatham Contractors Incorporated, placed in the back. Roland was vice president of the company in 1997. He was also traveling with a white 1994 low pontoon boat with a blue stripe and metal top and trailer with the boat number TX9619HL. Roland has never been heard from again. His family members said it is uncharacteristic of Roland to leave without warning. Roland's truck was discovered abandoned in a dense pine tree thicket about 1 week after his disappearance. The vehicle was located 1/2 mile off of Neal Road near FM 844 in Shawnee Prairie, Texas, approximately 30 miles from Roland's camp in Powell Park. The cab had been completely destroyed by fire. A burned rifle was found underneath the back seat of the truck, and an ice chest was located in the vehicle's bed. Roland's company ladder and cellular phone were both missing, but it is possible the phone was destroyed by the flames. The people who located the truck just days after Roland vanished did not report their find to authorities until the end of the week, as they did not initially notice the cab had been burned. Tools that Roland carried in the back of his truck were discovered in the same area as his vehicle shortly afterwards. Authorities said that it appeared the tools had been placed at the scene after their initial search ended, as the terrain had been thoroughly covered, and no sign of the tools was found earlier in the week. They had not been damaged by the fire inside the vehicle. Roland's boat trailer was located in August 1997, 1 month after his disappearance. The trailer was found in a wooded area 4 miles south of Broadus, Texas off of State Highway 147. The area was approximately 20 miles from Powell Park. Roland's pontoon boat was located in October 1997 in a narrow cove off of the Harvey Creek Recreational Area, which is near the end of FM 2390 in San Augustine County, Texas. The boat's top was missing at the time of discovery. Authorities discovered bullet holes in the pontoons from either a large caliber shotgun or a gunshot. According to law enforcement, the boat had been carefully placed under a tree. The pontoon boat's awning was recovered by divers in Lake Sam Rayburn near the location of the boat itself in January 1998. Roland's case remains open and unsolved. Foul play is suspected in his disappearance, but 23 years after the fact he still is classified as endangered and missing. Anyone with information on the disappearance of Bill Roland is asked to contact the Angelina County Sheriff's Office, 93663433331.
Number 4.
The Texas Department of Public Safety, as known as DPS, is asking for the public's help in solving the disappearance of Rena Rincones. An increased reward of up to $6,000 is being offered for information that leads to the arrest of those responsible if the tip is received before next month's featured Texas Rangers cold case is announced. Rincones was reported missing to law enforcement in March 1995. According to her father, she was last seen leaving her parents' residence in Falfurrias, Brooks County, on June 21, 1994, and she was never heard from again. 19-year-old Rena May Rincones Longoria left her parents' Falfurrias, Texas, home and headed to Fremont on June 21, 1994. 9 months later, on March 13, 1995, her father reported her missing. Authorities presume she is deceased, but her body has never been recovered. On May 16, 1994, a little over a month before she disappeared, Rena married 18-year-old John Eric Longoria, and at some point, had the words, 100%, and John, tattooed on her left and right ankles, respectively. The pair had a 1-year-old daughter together. Until 1995, John's address was listed in Fremont, the city where Rena was last traveling to before she disappeared. From 1996, John also rented a P.O. box there. On January 8, 1998, a man with the same name appeared in a Clute, Texas, court on one charge of possession of a controlled substance. About 2 years later, at around 1:45 a.m., on April 29, 2000, a John Eric Longoria died in an auto accident. He was 24 years old. In 2010, Rena's self-reported best friend left the following comment, as written, on a website devoted to American missing persons. I'm looking for John Longoria or the Longoria family. The mother is white. John had a sister named Jackie Longoria. The reason I'm looking for this family is because we have reason to believe this family murdered my best friend Rena Rincones. Please, if anyone remembers this family, or my best friend, please let me know. Her family has died looking for her and has a daughter that John's mom kept. I want to bring closure to her, and all who knew her. She was last seen on June of 1994. Again, any info is greatly appreciated. The only confirmed part of the above statement is that Rena went missing in June 1994. Police have never implicated John in her disappearance or death. In February 1993, Diana Beltran Longoria, the mother of the John who passed away at 24 years old, was charged with 2 counts of theft and passing bad checks and was subsequently sentenced to 2 10-year prison terms. It is unclear if Diana actually served any time, but if she did, then she would not have been able to care for the granddaughter, as alleged by Rena's supposed best friend. Rena was adopted by Jose S. Rincones and Ofelia Trevino Rincones shortly after her birth on October 8, 1974. She graduated from Falfurrias High School. The Texas Crime Stoppers reward is increased up to $6,000 for the featured case in hopes that the higher reward money will generate additional tips. The higher reward amount will only be paid if the tip is submitted before the next case is featured. The Texas Ranger Unsolved Crimes Investigation Program was created to assist Texas law enforcement agencies investigating unsolved murders or violent serial crimes. Since there is no statute of limitations for the offense of murder, investigators pursue these cases to a successful resolution or until no viable leads remain.
Number 5.
Almost 14 years after 2 Terrell Pizza Hut employees were found slain inside a store, police say they have rearrested the 4 original suspects in the case. Patricia Oferosky and Stephen Mitchell-Tree were found fatally shot in the store around closing time on September 3, 2006. Police determined at the time that the suspects, current and former Pizza Hut employees, had planned a robbery that led to the double homicide. 4 people were arrested and charged with capital murder, but were later released by the district attorney. The case remained open, and recently Terrell police investigators, the Texas Rangers, and the Kaufman County District Attorney's Office began re-examining the case. Police said new technological advances combined with a fresh investigative perspective allowed the team to secure criminal indictments through the district attorney's office. A special grand jury session was convened Friday and the same 4 suspects were rearrested in the deaths of Oferosky and Mitchell-Tree, police said. Police identified the suspects as Justin Prox, 32 years old, Anthony Holloman, 32 years old, Bianca Newman, 36 years old, and Darius Hubbard, 33 years old. In 2018, Oferosky's mother Jean Lee sat down with NBC5 to talk about the search for answers in her daughter's case. It was very, very difficult to see someone walk away that you truly believe were the ones that hurt you, she said at the time. Though Lee said then she wasn't holding on to anger, she was hopeful for justice for her family. Lee died earlier this year. Her family says they can't comment on the case. Hubbard is in prison at the Caulfield facility in Tennessee Colony serving sentences on unrelated convictions for a 2005 drug charge and 2010 aggravated robbery. He was projected to be released in July 2030 and was eligible for parole in 2020, according to Texas Department of Criminal Justice records.